In a world with artificial intelligence, how do we transform education? Thanks for tuning in. I'm Daniel Lopez, and this is the AI Education Conversation, where we explore the opportunities, risks, and impacts of AI across education. If you'd like to join the conversation, check out the AIeducationconversation.com. Let's jump in. Hello, everyone. Here in the United States, school's out for summer. Whew. I can tell you from my perspective, this has been quite an eventful year. As those of you who actively listen to the podcast have noticed, I've been taking some time to recharge and haven't been publishing quite as frequently. During this time, I did look back on my AI and education predictions for 2024, though, which you can find in episode 33. And from my perspective, it is astounding to me to see how much evidence I have to support these predictions with 5 months left in the year. As an example, I predicted over 2024, we will continue to see innovations in artificial intelligence happening at an exponential pace. This semester has been hot with updates, and I feel like I can hardly keep up. From the consistent updates across Anthropic, Google, and OpenAI, to breakthroughs for skin cancer tools like DermaSensor, and some major school districts like LA Unified School District announcing their adoption of AI tools in a big way. While there's so much to unpack on the tech side here, I do really like to use our time together now to call timeout. As our world continues to run full speed to a future with artificial intelligence, I really think it's important for us to look at the bigger picture and ensure that the technology is actually serving education rather than stifling it. With this in mind, I have more questions than answers in today's episode. Specifically, I want to propose 5 big questions we need to answer if artificial intelligence is going to be a technology that positively impacts our schools. My first question is this. We've been grappling with this question since ChatGPT initially emerged and brought with it a waves of fears and cheating along with it. That is, what does authentic student work look like in a world of artificial intelligence? Now, I will say that we've learned a few things here. Folks like Dr. Leon Frise have developed AI assessment scales. And the nice thing about these scales is it makes it really explicit around how we should be using AI on assignments, if at all. There's also folks like Phil Alcock, who was featured in the last episode I dropped, and he's been really successful in adopting AI and using it to enhance project-based learning. There's also Diane Lauer, who alongside her school district colleagues has led the charge on thoughtful AI implementation across the entire school district. Now, I really appreciate these folks so much, and I think that these bright spots give us some context on the path forward here, but there also continues to be a lack of awareness systematically from schools around how to leverage AI in schools, and many teachers are still asking about and using AI detectors. Beyond the awareness piece, I would also add that since AI has emerged, there has not been a foundational change from the school system in terms of how we learn and what we learn. As a result, many opportunists out there are out there responding to this by creating AI tools to create better worksheets or AI tools to create math tutors for online courses. Look, no shade here, but the reality is I don't think anyone was actually really happy with the current arc of learning and development in schools prior to AI. So building AI tools upon our status quo system doesn't really seem like a winning formula. Instead, how can we really take our best stab at understanding what our young people are going to need upon high school graduation based on this rapidly developing world and develop student learning experiences with it, which will hone the durable skills they need to accomplish this vision? My second question. There have been some really interesting developments in school districts across the United States in the last few weeks. Many school districts have announced that they are banning cell phones headed into next school year. In most places, what this will look like is students putting their phones in a pouch or locker for the duration of the day or class period to ensure they're not using it. Now, I definitely plan on doing a deeper dive here as we learn more. But for now, my question is this. If many school districts do come out and outright ban cell phones, like many are doing, in my mind, it sends a signal that technology is not a priority in the classroom. So, what does this mean for how schools will treat artificial intelligence technology? Now, I'm not suggesting that this is an either or scenario here. There may be school districts who do successfully hold the nuance of banning cell phones for students while at the same time ensuring they do have the technological proficiency and reps they need to explore technologies like AI. But what I am saying is that navigating both of those realities will be really difficult and it's going to require buy-in from their school and larger community. What I can more see happening in schools that ban cell phones is that they likely will end up becoming classrooms of the 1990s, where students will find other ways to kill time in classrooms they aren't excited about, like passing notes, flicking paper footballs through goalposts, or bringing other objects into the classroom to engage with. Now, at the same time, we do know that the mass deployment of cell phones packed with social media apps has done damage to our young people. It has weakened their attention span, damaged their mental health, and generally detracted from a meaningful human learning experience. So I can understand the push to try something different. The school districts who do choose to adopt this policy have an interesting road ahead next school year. And I'm interested to see how they grapple with this while embracing technology like AI, while at the same time banning cell phones. My third question has been top of mind since ChatGPT first came out. And I'll be honest in saying I don't have great answers. I'm also really concerned about getting this right because I see this alongside deepfakes as being one of the biggest potential threats with artificial intelligence, like what social media generally did to mental health and attention spans for humanity. All right, enough table setting. This is my question. What will relationships look like in a world of artificial intelligence? For those of you who haven't followed developments in artificial intelligence closely, you might be bewildered by this question. Relationships? Yep, relationships. The reality around artificial intelligence, based on the many conversations we've had and historical concepts we've learned, is this. Number one, artificial intelligence, especially chatbots, are designed to be persuasive, engaging, and they do have an expert level ability to change tones and framing on a dime. Number two, these features are so compelling that it can lead to many humans developing an emotional connection with the chatbot and assigning human like features to it, essentially treating it like a human with the assumption that there is a sentience on the other side of the screen. Hell, even well known voices in the field right now, like Ethan Mollick in his book Co-Intelligence, is encouraging us to treat artificial intelligence like a human. Though I don't think he necessarily means the relationship part of this. I don't think he does. Number three, historically, other chatbots have also proven to have this effect on people. Ethan Mollick describes in that same book, which I have a full book review on in a prior episode, by the way, that archaic chatbots like Replica were so compelling that there were handfuls of people who developed really significant relationships with the bot because it would listen, it would affirm, it would not argue, and it was always there. Now, a layer on top of all of this more sophisticated chatbots like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and the fact that all of these bots are in a race to make themselves as engaging as possible to win this race against each other. As an example of this, you might have seen recently in an article Scarlett Johansson, the popular actress who ironically voiced a robot in a popular movie about tech human relationships called Her, was disturbed because OpenAI released a Siri type feature designed to allow conversation with ChatGPT, and the voice sounded like her own. She even mentioned that prior to this, Sam Altman had reached out to her about partnership for this feature, and she denied the offer. So you can imagine how unsettled she must have been to hear her voice or hear a voice which sounded eerily similar to her voice that was being used to promote this chatbot and provide voice capabilities to it. OpenAI has since pulled this specific voice. Number five, finally, other current chatbots, like Character AI as an example, have consistently shown up as the most used AI tools alongside the big three models in studies and in articles that I've read. The reality here is this: we have an inclination as humans to build relationships with beings who listen, affirm, and are present. Many are already doing so. It's not to say it's all bad. There are some use cases, like bots which act as reflection tools, or life coaches, or characters from fictional books, which might be both productive and engaging use cases. I think where it starts to get more complex, however, is when you start to talk about folks using chatbots as therapists or chatbots based on real people. The other layer here is while many of us who have lived enough life pre chat GPT might not be as susceptible to an AI relationship, many of the young people do not have the same lived experiences, and they may be more prone to human like relationships with technology. All that to say, we need to figure out what acceptable AI usage and interactions look like. Otherwise, we may end up with an even more complex definition for the word relationships in the near future. Let's talk money. Whether we like it or not, so many of the decisions made by school systems are financial decisions. Here in the United States, all school districts were benefiting from a massive influx of federal funding over the last few years called ESSER funding, which was a direct response to providing financial resources to schools during the pandemic. That funding is over. Many school districts have already spent their ESSER funds, and the federal government is no longer providing additional ESSER funding. In Massachusetts, Texas, and Connecticut, I've already seen and experienced firsthand headlines around many school districts who are cutting many positions, disbanding external partnerships, disbanding internal departments and initiatives, and generally being much more conservative with what they say yes to as it relates to their budgets. So, what does this mean for artificial intelligence? Will school districts embrace artificial intelligence with the ESSER funding cliff happening right now? I see a few possible scenarios here. Potentially, some school districts do continue to prioritize AI in the coming year and allocate their resources post ESSER and making it happen. I also see many school districts staying in the same boat they've been in the past 2 years, saying no to AI exploration and adoption, and the ESSER funding just serving as another proof point for why it should not be a priority going into next year. I think these two scenarios are the likeliest options and an unfortunate one from my perspective, because I think what it means is that we will be taking a few more steps down this path of creating AI haves and AI have nots, another form of educational inequity in our school system. That being said, I actually do think there's an answer here, and I would offer one. I think that the federal and state governments need to pass bills to enact funding for district initiatives around AI literacy. The AI guidance, all of that, it's great. I think some of those things are helpful, but I will say that a lot of it has been fluffy and broad, especially at the state and federal level. And if our governments decide to make huge financial investments into grants that school districts could apply to build AI literacy programs in their school districts, I do think we could see a massive uptick in school of AI usage in schools in a way that has not been true the past 2 years. My final question, it has less to do with AI. It has more to do with the humans in our schools. It's a question we've been trying to answer for decades, and I think it's about time we get it right. My question is this: how can we make the experience of working in school or district more sustainable? While there have been some small bright spots showing opposing trends in teacher recruitment in the last year, as an example, the macro headline still holds. Schools and districts, especially in large urban hubs, are understaffed, do not retain employees well, and generally lead to burnout. If we want to transform our education system, I don't believe we can do so without having an army of talented adults in every single school to support, empower, inspire, and to teach our young people. While some folks are trying to answer the sustainability question with artificial intelligence, I don't believe this is enough. Regardless of how efficient AI allows us to be in our roles, and I do believe it's going to allow us to be very efficient. If folks are not being compensated a living wage, have crap health insurance, and generally are not on a path to providing well being and stability for themselves and their families, they're going to look elsewhere. If folks don't feel like they are growing or making an impact in their roles, they will look elsewhere. If folks feel like they are being asked to take on multiple jobs with little to no support, they will look elsewhere. If folks do not believe in the competency and vision of their leaders. They will look elsewhere. If folks feel like the media or narratives about their work are largely undermining or belittling the vocation they pour their time, energy, and efforts into, they will look elsewhere. A deep rooted passion for service can take you really far, but only so far. Our school systems have banked on tapping into this passion without providing all the other things that educators need to be successful in the school building. If we really want our education to be the best in the world and to prepare students for a world of artificial intelligence, it starts with sustainability and recognizing the full humans doing the work. We need our decision makers to prioritize the funding, support, and benefits needed to make this happen. What are some of your big questions we need to answer as we move into towards artificial intelligence and education? Send me your thoughts on LinkedIn. Thanks for checking out today's episode. I'm going to take some more time to record new conversations and recharge, so my episodes will be irregular through the month of July also. Feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I always love hearing your thoughts and reactions to the episodes. If you're interested in my takeaways, sign up for a conversation at the AIeducationconversation.com. I share all show notes with my community 12 hours before sharing with my social media networks. If you want to continue supporting the podcast, a rating, review, share on social media, or recommendation to a colleague go a long way in helping to amplify our space and host bigger conversations. Finally, if your school, district, or organization is ready to explore AI and make a change, I am available for workshops and consulting at the AIeducationconversation.com. Humans at the heart of education.